Webisode 3 was a really difficult shoot. We lost our first location. We shot one day there and then ended up losing it and had to go to New Braunfels. So you'll just have to be careful. Okay. You can like drive up around it or something.
And the locations look different.
Yeah.
How location 1 even had different trees and stuff, I think. And then location 2 was a lot more like enclosed, and the first location was a little more open.
Let's just say that the whole campfire is turned. So hold on, let me think. So they're like this.
But it ended up working out because the second location was after the peyote had taken effect, so it was kind of like this supposed to be this
you couldn't tell.
trippy scene anyway, and it kind of ended up working out for our advantage, I think.
And there were dogs. In the first one, there were dogs barking in the background. If you listen close enough, you can hear them.
Which is okay, because, you know, they're out in the woods and the dogs is fine.
Right here, those dogs.
And there's also, we had trouble with this saw noise in the background.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, it sounded at first,
like
the first time we heard it, I didn't know what it was. It sounded like somebody screaming at this weird high-pitched scream.
When I was a kid.
All right, cut, Nate. You hear that? You hear that saw?
Is it a saw or
it's a saw.
So we kind of had to work around that and cut around that. And that was actually the day that I didn't really take any breaks. There's sometimes when I was like holding the camera and eating a sandwich at the same time because we were so far behind somehow. I ended up getting carpal tunnel in this hand, or a pinched nerve or something. And then I think it was bicep tendonitis actually in this arm, because I hold the camera with this hand, but then do the focus and stuff like this, but then also hold it sometimes like this. And anyway, it ended up, because I'd never put the camera down that shoot, I ended up hurting myself. So some of the other things that happened on set, we had the dogs barking, we had the saw. Our audio guy, Ken, was sick.
Oh yeah, he was real sick.
We were behind schedule, like we said.
Everyone got tired of pimento cheese sandwiches.
Right.
That was the shoot we decided no more pimento
cheese sandwiches.
Ken and I had to lay down the line with Nate and say, I'm sorry, love you, but I've had enough goddamn pimento cheese.
So, before you spit it.
You said you're ready.
No, I know. I'm saying before you...
I'm like already crying. You want me to be crying right now? I don't know when you want me to put him in.
And just other stressful situations, like with who goes here and who goes where, and what everybody's feelings were getting hurt on set, and which nobody meant, of course. It was a stressful day. And then on top of that, at the end of the day, we told Indigo it was only going to be one day, but it ended up, hey, can you come out for another day?
How do you feel about this production?
I feel really good about it. I really liked I really liked getting to play a character that wasn't just like a dumb girl. Like there's like all the, have you noticed that, like all the there's so many parts out there that are just like, I just hope somebody likes me.
Yeah. The original actress that we had planned canceled the last minute.
It was a friend, and we'd actually got a lot of the ideas for the scene between Kayla and O and us about them painting their faces, because she had done this cool makeup effects, so we were going to have her do that, and we thought, hey, they're stoned and they're painting each other's faces, and then they trip out, and it's all this weird related to birds and stuff like that we thought would be cool. And we even had, not rehearsal with her, but like talked about the script a lot and all this stuff, and she was already going excited. And then she just, at the last second, it was literally 2 a.m., the night before we shot, she had to back out due to reasons. And I was mad, but I understood. So I called Kayla and the rest of the crew, and we kind of thought, well, what can we do? Took a break.
Yeah, we canceled for like the rest of the holidays.
We were just so tired. So at that point, and we thought, everybody can spend time with their families for the holidays. And
we had a casting call at the end of January, which turned out better anyways.
Yeah, it turned out better.
Got Indigo.
So flash forward about like 6 months ago, and I was getting out of my car to go to work, and I was running late, and we had this big presentation that at the time seemed so important, but as I got out, I tripped up with my stuff, and I just bit it. It was really bad. I flew through the air and busted my ass on the cement, and in those split seconds in mid-fall, I was like totally transplanted back to like when I was a kid.
So after getting Indigo to agree to the part, and I don't remember how long she had with the script, but if you watch the episode, you can tell. But if you look at the script, it's just, sometimes her dialogue is just pages and pages, of this long monologues, basically.
It was nice to not have any lines for a change.
Well, you kind of helped guide her performance in some ways too by being there for her, and the way you react is going to cause her to how she tells her story, to react and tell her story.
Just memorize the story, understand how the story flows. Right. And I was thinking about it as I was going to sleep the night before last. I was like, okay, I have to wake up in 4 hours and go do this. And I haven't really memorized my lines completely, but I just like laid in bed and just thought about the flow of the story and like where my conversation goes. And then once I got on, you know, time to perform, I just like looked at the lines and understood the words, and it was just like had to say them a couple times and I knew. Just had it down.
She did a great job memorizing those lines, and there's always with Indigo there'd be a couple takes where I think she was trying to find the voice and find the way she wanted to say it, and she would kind of improvise a little and go off script some. So she'd do that a couple times, and then she'd get to this take where she almost did it spot on with the dialogue and the script and how we kind of envisioned. And it was funny, it was like always after a few that she would find that.
If the words weren't coming naturally, I just wanted it to be, it was more important to me for it to be natural, whatever I was saying. So to just say something that I really felt in the moment, like frustrated or like express whatever I was feeling so I could get back on track.
In the editing, it ended up being kind of a combination of those. Like I would use some of the ones that were spot on, pretty much like the script was written and how I envisioned, and also mixture with some of her improv and how she kind of was figuring it out for the character, and that's how it created Awanasa.
I feel like the script and the writing was just very natural. Like it was a little bit intimidating seeing all that language, and I was excited about it. I was like, yeah, meaty part. Yeah. But it was just flowed out very easily. Like I was like, I've had this experience, you know, at some point in my life, similar experience.
Like don't edit or anything to where it sounds. Try as hard as I can to sound it out in my head. Sometimes I get it, sometimes I don't. But just to kind of be very like, you know, and Kayla and I sometimes it'll be a little too much, like giving away too many emotions. So I try to like stick to facts.
Yeah.
So we originally were inspired by the person who was originally going to play Awanasa, who did makeup. So when she couldn't do it, we still wanted to do the makeup thing, but we obviously didn't want to do it like she did it because that was her thing. So we had Lindsay, our behind-the-scenes photographer, kind of design this concept for the makeup that had, you know, Kayla across the eyes, and it was actually a lot more elaborate before. Yeah, it was cool, and she had all these notes and feathers, and she looked up like Native American customs and rituals and the way lines, if like sideways lines mean one thing and vertical lines mean something else, and then Awanasa was going to be the lower part and have stuff. So then we got on set.
It was just going to take too long. And I'm not an artist. There's no way I could have painted anything. It would have looked like shit.
We all painting each other's faces. You were painting each other's faces, right?
Yeah, we painted each other. She painted mine, obviously, on camera.
Right.
Most of it.
Right.
And then I helped her with hers off camera. And then that second half of it, when we start the trip out scene, she automatically just has it on.
Right. So we took the idea that Lindsay had made and simplified it. You know, Kayla was the top half blue, and Awanasa was the bottom half, and it was kind of a reddish,
orangish,
and that ended up looking kind of cool and kind of trippy, which we really liked.
I really liked Awanasa. I really, really liked her. Like, just getting to like be spiritually aware and like kind of a leader, a traveler and a leader and a free spirit and joyous at the same time. That was cool.
Well, Awanasa was definitely a device that helps get Kayla from one point to another point. So if she's real or not real, doesn't matter really in the big scheme of things. It's more of like, is Kayla going to get to that point? There was some nudity in this episode.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
A little bit of nudity.
Which I think was important to the episode because it comes at a moment when Awanasa's like, they're chewing peyote and they're smoke some weed and they're out in nature and it's like this journey, and she like rips off her clothes and is like, you know, Kayla, you have to go on your quest, and it's like this big moment kind of for both of them, and then just runs off into the woods and is like one with the woods and one with nature. Indigo was she wanted it to be for the right reason, and I remember shooting it, and right when we did the first take, she did it in the way that she did it. She's like, halfway through my dialogue, I realized what you meant and what you were going for, and I realized that was exactly what this character should do.
Happen, yeah.
And so she ended up like totally being on board with it and understood it. We realized it would probably be pretty risque, but I don't think it doesn't sensationalize it, and it doesn't. It's not for like, hey, here's some nudity for you. And it actually gave us a little comedic moment too, with Kayla's looking at her when it happens, and Kayla's face is like
something that's particular with my eye level. I wasn't looking directly at it, but it looked like I was like.
I've been on the road for 3 months now.
For the peyote, actually was I stayed up late one night dyeing some dried pineapple, which is kind of a yellowish color. So it ended up being just straight green food dye. And I was putting these pineapple in there, and I had to leave them in there for a long time. And then I took them out with like tongs, but I still had green all over my hands. And I had to set them in front of a fan because they needed to dry for the next morning, otherwise they'd have green all over their fingers. So when they're doing the scene, the research I've done on peyote said that it's very like bitter. And so they, even though pineapple's sweet, so they really had to. It tastes
really good.
So they had to act
like, I want more peyote.
Yeah, right. They're like, no, this is so bitter, even though it's delicious. But they did a really good job of that.
Before I even leave the house, the farmhouse where I find out about Rachel.
Originally, I had written it to where Kayla goes out into the car, and that's where she gets upset. That's where she has her breakdown in the driveway. And from the beginning, you never liked that idea.
Well, I just didn't feel like I would, if I'm trying to leave this person's house as fast as I possibly can, and I sit in their driveway for a good 30 minutes and have this breakdown, eventually someone's going to come out, and that's not what we wanted to happen. You know, I felt like she wanted to be alone. She wouldn't want anyone to see her crying like that or have an emotional, crazy freak out breakdown like that around anybody. So I felt it more necessary to do it elsewhere.
Right.
And somehow we came to the idea
I didn't agree at first, and I was like, well, I don't know. Let's just do it the way it's written first and see how it goes. And it didn't work.
Whoop. Watch your cord. Right there. Fuck me. Fuck.
Kayla and I decided to go out later with just you and me. We set up some mics like hidden in the car, and I was outside the car filming through the glass, and I just told Kayla to just go with it. So we're still, we've talked about it before, Kayla, you have a little trouble with getting to some of the, or you did have trouble. I don't think you do anymore now.
Maybe.
And so how are we gonna get there? And we noticed that if Kayla laughs,
if I laugh hard enough, I do cry. Like tears come out of my almost every single time. I get so tickled, I really start like bawling, crying. So Nate made me do the.
I'm a member.
I'm a member
of the Chubby Buddies.
Of the Chubby Buddies
fan club.
Fan club.
Smile. Cheese.
Whatever.
I just was doing random stuff to make her laugh, and her eyes would start to tear up because we had tried the whole Visine thing, but it didn't really work that well.
What happened to you?
I thought it was really great how Kayla we would be like dying laughing, and our eyes would tear up, and then I would say action, and she'd just immediately jump into this like emotional scene. Yeah, and you did that's really hard to do. And to go from like butts and farts and whatever, and then be like and just like, I think that really came out great, and we both needed that scene for that to work.
Fuck! Fuck! Oh! God damn it!
I wanted to talk about this scene where Awanasa is painting Kayla's face and telling her backstory. I did it in 3 separate shots. There's kind of a wide shot that has both of them in it, and then there's a closer up shot where they're both still in it, profile shots of both of them, and then there's one more shot of close up of just Awanasa. And I did it for that in that way. You can see that in the first shot, they're real obscured by the grass and the backpacks and the smoke from the fire. And at that point in the story, Awanasa is kind of telling Kayla like how she's real unsure about her life and she didn't know what to do and she didn't know what anything meant. And that's why it's obscured, because her thoughts are obscured. So then when we cut to the closer to shot, it becomes a little more clear, like there's still stuff in front of the camera, between the camera and the actors, so it's still obscured, but then also her story is like that too. It's starting to come clear. And then by the time we cut to the close-up of Awanasa, there's nothing covering the camera, no trees, barely any smoke. And at that point, her story is like she realized what she needed to do and what she wanted out of life and stuff like that. So it's kind of these 3 moments in time of how her story becomes clear for her in her life, and just she's telling that to Kayla. So it's kind of like a visual representation of her story.
Now I'm 30. Almost 30. Have you ever heard of Saturn Return?
No.
Yesterday after like we finished shooting, I was telling all my friends, I was like, have you heard of Saturn Return? Well, it's an astrological occurrence that happens every 29 years or so.
Saturn Return was, I worked it into the story because I was kind of just doing research online about, well, what I'm going to say is what I worked into Awanasa's speech, is that she was online researching stuff about, Native American rituals and customs, and
that's what you were doing.
Rite of passage, and that's what I was doing. So I was like, well, I just make her say that too. That's what she was doing. So it's not like this, she has all this information and knowledge about this stuff, more about she stumbled across it, which I think was kind of more cool that way.
Right.
So I just wrote that in there. Saturn Return was this one step of life to another step of life. And I thought that was an interesting concept, especially since Kayla's not exactly to that age yet of 30, which Awanasa is, but Rachel was about that age. And Rachel does go from one stage to another, and she ends up dying, but that's still another stage. And I think that's kind of where Kayla is headed. And I thought that was an interesting take on how Awanasa is related to Rachel and how Kayla fits into the equation too.
Hey. Man, thanks for stopping. I'm just trying to get off this road and into the closest town. I'm Awanasa.
But it was a hard shoot, but it turned out being like the best one.
Yeah, I think this is, because all the struggles and stuff we had with it, I think people
will enjoy it.
And it's a big episode too, because especially at the end of the episode, Kayla makes a big decision, and it kind of like starts the next part of the series. It's almost like you could have the first 3 episodes in their own little compartment. She comes home, she finds out all the stuff, her friend's dead, she doesn't know what to do, and then she figures out, I'm gonna go
like a little
find my
short
home.
on its
Yeah,
own.
it's like a little short on its own. Everybody did a great job and came through, even though it was such a hard shoot. So we were happy with that. Okay, hope you enjoy it.
Yay. I have a little bit of money in my mom's car, and I'm looking for home.